Hello, and welcome to this episode of 101 Sports Webcast. I'm Stephen Normington.
And I'm Lindsey Schmidt. We have a great show for you today, so let's start things off with some quick hitters.
After a 15-year relationship, Nike has dropped 7-time Tour de France winner Lance Armstrong. Like fourth period French because he has continually lied about using performance-enhancing drugs during his cycling career. Lindsey, did Nike make the right decision?
I'm going to have to say no. For a couple of reasons.
He cheated.
Well, listen to what I have to say first. Okay. Nike still sponsors people who have done worse things than Lance Armstrong. Example number 1, Michael Vick.
Okay.
Federal prison for dogfighting.
Okay, my argument against that is, like Vick, Tiger Woods, they have a chance to get their career back going. Lance Armstrong, his career is done. He's no longer cycling. Of course, he has his charity going for him. But he's no longer an athlete.
But here's the thing. People aren't going to remember Lance Armstrong for what he did doping-wise. They're going to remember him for his charitable work. Like, when I look back 20 years from now, I'm not going to say, oh, Lance Armstrong, he was the cyclist who got caught for doping.
I honestly will, because I read the biography and I loved it. But reading that biography and him just lying again and again about all that he went through, working so hard, changing his regimens, that is all just a lie, and he built the foundation and all his good work on this lie, and that's what really bugs me.
Well, Steve, I can see you're really sad about this, but we're going to have to move on. Clearly, the New York Yankees third baseman Alex Rodriguez has been struggling in the postseason for the majority of his career, and his October was no exception. Because the times that A-Rod struggled so much, the Yankees manager Joe Girardi was forced to bench him. Steve, do you think A-Rod will be wearing the pinstripes next season? I
think he will, and it's only because he has 5 years and $114 million left on his contract and a no-trade clause, which makes it highly improbable that he will be traded. That being said, the only suitor that I could really see is Joe Mauer, just because the Twins aren't playing that well, and maybe he wants to be on a competitive team. Those contracts match up, so I could see that switch, but I also find that highly unlikely just because he's so loved within the Minnesota area, and he's just a stronghold, and he's the only thing that team has going for him, so I don't understand why they'd want to lose that asset right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't think A-Rod's going to be traded, mostly, and you mentioned because of the money. I also think for his age, he's 37. He hasn't been doing well in the postseason. Joe Girardi had to pull him. I think that because of his age and because of the amount of money he would be expecting from another team, I don't think that the Yankees would be able to trade him.
Also, I mean, he's the ladies' man. The girls that go to the Yankees games, they're loving him these days.
Oh, yeah, because we really love going to the Yankees games.
The college football season is at its halfway mark, and we still have seen many great performances from many different players, especially West Virginia's quarterback, Geno Smith. That being said, Lindsey, who is your dark horse to win this year's Heisman?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the running back, Joseph Randall out of Oklahoma State. He has 128 carries on the season for a total of 765 yards and 8 touchdowns.
As impressive as that is, last year he scored 24 touchdowns, and I don't think he's going to be able to do that again, and he still wasn't in contention. I'm going to go with a defensive player. We've only seen one defensive player win the Heisman, and Charles Woodson, in the last couple of years. It's obviously been done before, but Notre Dame's Manti Teo is just the stronghold of that defense, and he already has his Heisman-defining moment, stopping Stephen Taylor on that 4th down to win Notre Dame the game. And as well, the team is 7-0 right now, so I think that has to play into his favor because those teams typically produce Heisman winners, and that's why I think he's going to have success.
Definitely agree with you. It would be nice to see a defensive player win the Heisman. And moving on, the NFLPA has filed papers that point out that the NFL allowed an incentive program for big hits by former Green Bay Packers defensive end Reggie White. This was in 1996. Steve, do you think the regime was too loose or too tight back then?
I think it was just perfect, and I'm going to tell you why. Because right now, the NFL is a bunch of sissies. Last night, we saw that people were debating if Ndamukong Suh's hit on Jay Cutler was too dirty, and it was obviously a clean play, and that is only because we have dumb rules like the Brady rule when quarterbacks can't get hit in the legs. I'm tired of this. I want hard-hitting, hard-nosed football back. I miss it. And I just want the game to return to what it normally is.
You're not a professional football player, okay? You're not the one who's putting your body out there on the line. I think the NFL back then was too loose, honestly, because you have people who are damaged for life with head injuries, body injuries. after taking big hits. And I think it's really important that the NFL definitely tries to protect their players, and banning or putting a hard lock on cash incentives now is a great idea, but back then it should have been much tighter.
I agree that it is a shame that people are having all these problems, especially that they're not able to think clearly. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's an entertainment industry, and I want to be entertained by seeing these hard hits on defense.
So you want to be like a gladiator from the Roman times, where it's just like, you know,
all-out warfare.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. That's all the time we have for this segment of One-on-One. But coming up, we will be discussing some of the greatest moments in baseball playoff history. Stay tuned.